Unfortunately, it looks like we're not going to see any meetings or debates between Rick Snyder and Virg Bernero. Rick Snyder, of course, the Republican candidate for governor, Virg Bernero, the Democratic candidate, and we have 50 days left until the general election. But apparently the campaigns have ended trying to set up gubernatorial debates. Snyder spokesperson Bill Nowling says they put out a fair and reasonable proposal for a debate and accused the Bernero camp of trying to make changes. Bernero, for his part, says that he wanted more debates. He wanted moderators who were not chosen by the Snyder campaign, and he also wanted the debates to be seen on television. They didn't like the fact that one of the debates was in Detroit, held at noon with no live audience, is what he says in his press release. They say, the Bernero campaign, they accepted 99% of what they wanted, and they just wanted neutral moderators, and they wanted the debates at night so people could see them. As it stands right now, there will be, as I understand it, no debates. Saul Anuzis is on the other end of our line right now, the immediate past chairman of the Michigan Republican Party and the founder of Coast to Coast Strategies. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Patrick.
Can we really have a gubernatorial election without debates?
Well, sure we could. I mean, if you go back historically and take a look at it, the first time John Engler ran, he had 3 debates. The second time they had no debates. When Dick Posthumus ran against Jennifer Granholm the first time, they only had 1 debate, and then Dick DeVos had 3 debates. So the average over the last 12, 16 years has only been 0 to 3 debates in a general election anyway. So it wouldn't be unusual, but this is a good political issue that Virg Bernero will demagogue to the best of his ability. And again, if I had to back the failed Democratic policies for the state of Michigan, I would love to divert attention away from talking about the issues and talk about debates. And if he's going to run his campaign based on kind of an insincere, childish, gamesmanship about talking about debates, I don't think the people and the voters of Michigan are going to buy into that.
Well, let's face it, though. These modern so-called debates are really more like forums anyway. I mean, the rules are very specific. They're mini speeches that really answer the questions anyway. So how could 2 grown men, 2 grown campaigns not have come to some sort of reasonable conclusion?
Well, I think that Virg Bernero is playing the debate game. This is a great opportunity for him to get exposure, to get more press, to basically try to make an issue about debates and stay away from debating and talking about the real issues. I mean, the practical reality is both Virg Bernero and Rick Snyder have appeared together on the same stage, forums, discussions, at least 6 or 8 times, I believe, already in this campaign. Rick Snyder is holding town hall meetings all over the state of Michigan that is basically an open forum, allowing voters to come and ask questions. Some have been televised, some have been live on the radio. So if Virg Bernero was willing to accept 3 debates, which would have been on the high side, and basically they were all 3 televised, all 3 with neutral commentators, it wouldn't have been an issue. But I think that to him, this is kind of good theater, good political theater. He's going to get shows like yours and others for a little while, keep asking about these debates, and we'll play on what he has to say. But the reality is, he's just playing games. If he really wanted debates, it wouldn't have been a big issue. They could have had him, but instead he's playing games. And remember, Rick Snyder is not a typical politician. He's not going to buy into this stuff. I mean, he's a self-professed nerd who is a businessman who wants to get to the bottom line. And he's not going to let Virg Bernero kind of play the typical political games of debating debates purely for political gain.
Rick Snyder, according to the latest poll this morning, has a 20-point lead. I guess if you have a 20-point lead and you can get away without having debates, why not sit on the lead?
Well, from a political standpoint, debates are clearly much more beneficial to Virg Bernero. That's why I think tactically he's making a mistake. Rick was the first one who came out and said, let's debate. Let's have 3 statewide televised debates. Look, as you mentioned earlier, these debates are very structured. There's limited information that comes out, but at the same time, they're there. People get to see the candidates on stage. They're normally replayed at different hours of the day for people. The excerpts become stories and news clips and radio clips. So it is an opportunity for them. But look, this race is going to tighten. We in Michigan, the Michigan Republicans, the activists know that this is a tight state. we win races like the John Engler landslide by 15,400 votes, or the Mike Cox landslide by 5,700 or 600 some votes. So I expect this to be a much closer race than 20 points or 10 points even. The polls will close. Our activists have to run like we're 5 points behind. We understand the state leans Democrat, but is very independent. And Rick Snyder appeals to those people, but that means we're going to have to work to the very last hour of the campaign and make sure that our voters and Rick's voters get to the polls and have a chance to help turn Michigan around.
It is a little bit risky on Rick Snyder's part, isn't it, to have people say, you know, what's he afraid of? Why is he ducking? And it's all fine and good to have town halls where you have citizens asking questions, but to have a neutral moderator and an opponent challenging your points is something very different.
Well, sure it is different, but Rick has offered 3 statewide televised debates. This isn't an issue of whether or not there should be debates. I mean, you know, when it's interesting.
Well, why should he get to pick the moderator, though?
There. Yeah, come on. I'm 99% there. Well, if it's only 1%, then just go for it. But, you know, Verge needs this in order to get his name mentioned on radio, in order to get his name mentioned in the print. He does not want to talk about the fact that Michigan has the highest tax rates in the country. He doesn't want to talk about that we haven't had real structural reform.
He's not going to get a chance to in debate for him anyway, it looks like. Saul Anuzis, thank you very much for your time this morning. Coast to Coast Strategies, 14 before the hour. It's Michael Patrick Shields.